Imagine being this guy. You're the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Your team is good, consistently good. They show up, they perform in the regular season. Your guys go out there and have record-breaking seasons. But in the playoffs, you guys kind of stink, and you choke away what was a bunch of opportunities to get yourselves a victory in Game 7. Okay. Then, as this same captain, you head over to Team Canada at the World Championships to captain that squad as well. And, like your stint with Toronto, the team ends up underperforming. Canada loses in the bronze medal game in a fairly embarrassing fashion compared to what we know a lot of these guys are capable of. So, imagine being the captain of both of those teams. And then imagine that when the dust settles and you're back home in Canada, you're in your Toronto Maple Leafs pajamas and blankie, and you're just chilling at home, you learn that you're getting into trouble with the CRA for millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. That is what John Tavares is going through, because this article from citynews.ca talks about how the CRA is disputing Tavares' claim that $15.25 million was paid in 2018 as a signing bonus, and it should be taxed at a lower rate. Now, we did make a video about this back when the news initially dropped. You can go out there and watch this one if you wanted to see what the scoop was. But essentially, John Tavares had himself a very peculiar situation when he was initially acquired by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Something about the money, the signing bonus that he got right up front being placed into an American bank account, and debates as to where his primary residency was, because if he was in Canada, if he was in Toronto, then things would have been different, and also the status of that money, whether or not it was actual salary or if it was a bonus. Let's go out there and read this article from citynews.ca because it has all the details, and I think, because it's been a while since we talked about this last, it's a lot easier now because all the information has been kind of out there in the open, so we're kind of understanding this more than we did when the initial reports came out. But let's go out there and read this piece here. The CRA is disputing a claim by Maple Leafs captain John Tavares that the USD $15.25 million that the Toronto Maple Leafs paid him in 2018 was a signing bonus, saying that the amount was effectively a form of salary and should be taxed at a higher rate. The Star Center went to court in January to claim that the CRA had wrongly assessed his 2018 tax return. He maintains that payment from the Leafs should be taxed at a reduced rate of 15% for signing bonuses paid to athletes and other performers, as set out in a tax treaty. For Tavares personally, the outcome of the dispute could make $8 million of a difference in taxes he owes to the CRA. But the case could also have the ability of Canadian professional sports teams to lure players north of the border by structuring their compensation with signing bonuses, an increasingly common practice in the big leagues. Now, pause. The reason this is a big deal is because we all recognize that the CRA, Canada, their tax structure is a little bit different than the US, and for the most part, you could say that it's a little bit higher. Like, you talk about the USD to Canadian exchange, you talk about the amount of money that you pay for federal and provincial taxes, and you talk about the rates being as high as they can be, especially for people making millions and millions of dollars. So there's a reason why teams like Tampa Bay and Vegas get themselves the benefit of having lower state tax or none at all, because it makes their jobs a lot easier when it comes to giving players money. They can take less as an AAV because at the end of the day they're walking home with more than if they were making that same AAV in Toronto, for example. With this system in place, it could be a lot easier for Canadian teams to say, okay, no, you can come sign with us. We'll give you a signing bonus, and because you're an athlete, that signing bonus will be reflected on your CRA tax return in a smaller way. It'll have a reduced rate, and John Tavares is arguing that because of that certain treaty that allows that entire process to happen, he should be paying less on his taxes. $8 million less. The CRA denies that any amount referred to as a signing bonus was a signing bonus or an inducement payment, the government said in response to Tavares' tax appeal filed last week at the Tax Court of Canada. It adds that the amount of $70 million USD was not paid to Tavares as consideration for entering into or as inducement to sign the contract. Under a US-Canada tax treaty, signing bonuses and other inducements for athletes, artists, actors, and musicians get special treatment and are taxed at a low 15% rate, but if all the money paid to Tavares under the 7-year deal with the Leafs was treated as normal income, it would likely be taxed at the top marginal federal rate of 33% plus the provincial Ontario tax. So as we had said, lots of taxes, eh? Lots of money being tossed around there if you're making millions and millions of dollars. The 2018 amount was salary, wages, or other remuneration received by Tavares in the 2018 taxation year when he was a resident of Canada, the response to the appeal says. Accordingly, the entire 2018 amount is to be included in his income. This is where the kicker comes in. Tavares claimed in court that a USD $15 million payment he received from the Leafs in 2018 should be treated as a bonus because he would still collect it were he injured, dropped from the roster, or if there was a labor disruption in the NHL. He argued that he was a US resident at the time, finishing the season with the Islanders. But the CRA is not buying that claim, writing in the court that if at any time during any league year Tavares breached the contract, voluntarily retired, withheld the services, including a refusal to report to practice or play, or left the Toronto Maple Leafs, the appellant would only be entitled to retain a pro rata portion of the signing bonus. The CRA notes that Tavares' contract is structured so most of compensation is paid through the so-called bonuses. Next season, the last season under his current $77 million deal with the Leafs, he will earn a salary of $910,000 and another $7 million through bonuses. Tavares' tax lawyer said he couldn't comment on the case because it's before the court. The Department of Justice lawyer handling the case also declined to comment. The tax court has not yet scheduled a hearing in the dispute. So essentially, Tavares is making these claims. He's saying that there are these rules in place and that his status as a human being in America at that time and getting that bonus from the Toronto Maple Leafs makes it so that bonus that he received should be taxed at that lower 15% rate. But the CRA is not really buying it. They're saying, okay, no, you can say it's a bonus, but we're not going to give you that doubt. We're trying to tax you at 33% federal and then the extra Ontario provincial rate on top of that, so let's say upwards of 40-50% taxes. They're trying to get a lot of money out of this dude. And I think towards the end there's a really good argument as to why this actually could be a case. Hey, the guy's making $900,000 in salary, but $7 million in bonuses. Like, you can understand that there is sort of a discrepancy there in terms of the weight of what's being owed as a bonus and what's being paid as a worker, but at the end of the day, the CRA is just not buying it. They're using their own rules and saying that Tavares is not fulfilling them, which you can debate in the comment section below whether or not that's right, wrong, accurate, or even appropriate in this situation. But I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about John Tavares being in this very peculiar spot where if everything doesn't work out, he could be paying upwards of $8 million in taxes this upcoming season? I recognize, of course, that John Tavares has made millions and millions and millions of dollars, and $8 million or whatever is like about 1 year's worth of a salary if you total everything from his career's beginning to what he's got now. But still, that's a lot of money, and I don't think anybody is willingly able to give up $8 million without feeling at least a little bit bad about it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about John Tavares and the legal trouble that he's got with the CRA. Article will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read more of this yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99 and bye.